So this is totally informal. We're basically just hanging out, and you can ask me, please ask me questions. Because I don't have like a whole spiel planned. Just ask me questions, but I will give you a little bit of like context. And then I guess we can just, look at the paintings, ask me whatever. Andrew, thank you so much for doing the show.
Oh, this is amazing. I love the show.
We talked like in the summer or something. And I've been working on men paintings for a while, like since, I don't know, 2 years ago. And the way that I decide to work on something, like to have a painting project, is for no reason that I can identify. I'm just like, I feel some life and some charge around a subject matter, and I'm not even sure what it is, if it's good, bad, right, wrong, it doesn't really matter, as long as there's some attraction to it. And it was like men, like working class men. And so I went with it, and then I start to think like, oh, interesting, I wonder how these will land in the culture, like what kinds of conversations, what kinds of projections people will have. And so that gets really interesting to me, to have kind of a little bit of a charged identity or symbol to put out there. And then the way that they get executed is really where I just satisfy my like aesthetic desires for like junkiness, collage. Like I really got into skipping over painting things that I don't want to paint, and just using like in this one, like finding or not. I actually went and took photographs of badly pruned landscapes and printed them out to use rather than like try to paint those, because I hate painting foliage. And let's see, they're all taken from, pretty much all of them, this Instagram feed called Old School Dads, that are painting for photos of men from the 70s and 80s. So that also, the other thing is, as I moved back to near where I grew up in 2020, and it's, kind of like redneck town, and so somehow, like being there, reactivated just like images from my formative years, including like the men that were around. And so I think that's also partly why I was drawn to it at this time, just being back in that environment. And yeah, so they're all right, and then like kind of like a sense of the 70s and 80s, and plus the fucking internet, and being addicted to the phone and the internet, and just like remembering what life was like when I had so much more contact with the material world, or like it was just so much a part of doing things, like going places to buy things rather than ordering them online, and interacting with lots of different people, like go to the library to get information. So really feeling the loss of that way of living, and how that also kind of affects my ability to paint, because just getting very disconnected from the material world, and then painting becomes this like challenging, weird thing to do, because I'm like not, plus I also was a gardener for so much of my whole life to make money. And so I stopped doing that when I moved. So there was a weird kind of like, I'm like grasping at like contact with a more like embodied way of living. So that may be partly where a lot of the like wanting to have more textures and stuff in the paintings and more materials in the paintings is coming from. Let's see. Yeah, and having that kind of nostalgia for the like decor of my childhood, and wanting to have the wood paneling and the White Rain shampoo, Perk shampoo, Suave. Right? Like there was, shampoo was a big part of my high school years, I feel like. Aussie shampoo, Australian shampoo. Yeah, it smelled so good.
All of these guys have such sympathetic looks on their faces. Like you can't help but like all of them.
Right.
You can't help but feel like that, even if like they're wearing a Sex Machine T-shirt, that somehow there's like some irony or some kind of like not apologetics in their smile, but they're like, oh,
there's an
I'm
innocence.
an innocence, like
Yeah.
a childlike.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like there was I mean, looking at these photos, I'm reminded of like, it feels like, oh, that was a more innocent time. I don't know if I was more innocent or if it actually was a more innocent time, but that quality was in the photos that I was looking at for me anyway, so it gets translated into the paintings, I guess. And the animals, the animals are a big thing, and I'm not sure what they're about necessarily. I like the kind of the ambiguity of like the masculine, feminine, like what is she saying? What am I saying with like the cat covering the crotch area? I don't know. It's not like like it's more of a like, I like to confuse rather than like explain or describe. Yeah, it's not a position. It's that state of liberation that you have when nothing is nailed down or makes sense. And then maybe they're kind of like, I think of it, like when I have a dream with an animal in it, I kind of interpret it as like my instinctual nature or something. So most of the animals in this are domesticated animals. So, or even like, turned into graphic cartoon animals. So I don't know if that's some kind of like sense of the domesticated instinct or something. And the the kind of like sweetness and gentleness of pets, like that softens, even like mean, horrible, like evil dictators have their little animal that they love. And that's real. That love is real. So I don't know. That's kind of all I can think of to say. But I'm curious to hear if people have questions or perceptions they want to share.
Were you, like when you were painting these, did you think about the music that you listened to at that time in your life? Like hair metal?
Yeah, that was all circulating, for sure.
It's very prevalent in that one.
I know. This is the only one that was invented. This one was, there was a snapshot of a guy in a pool, in a tub with a beer and a cat, but I couldn't get his face, and so I invented this face.
Somebody had mentioned that was a different face at one point. They had seen this painting and it was a different face.
It was totally different.
Yeah.
And it ended up looking like Steve Tyler, but that's what I had in me, I guess. But yeah, the rest of them really, they don't necessarily look like the guy in the photo, but they look like, but I knew I had it when it looked like a guy.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I know him. Like my copying skills are not to the point where I'm like, I just represented this guy in this photo. It's like I can't, so I go until it looks like a guy. I was gonna see if I could even find what that painting looked like before.